So today I'd like to talk about the crash of the electronic toll collection system in Japan that occurred back in April of this year. Now, the so-called ETC system in Japan, I'm sure is very similar to other countries. You put this device inside your car, and once you do, you just pass right through the toll gate, and you don't have to stop. You have to slow down a little bit, but you don't have to stop and put money in a basket or anything like that. And when you go through the gate, money is automatically deducted from your bank account. So it's very neat, very efficient, very time saving until it crashes. And that's exactly what happened at midnight on April 6th of this year. And the system shut down in 106 toll booths across 17 routes and stayed down for 38 hours. Now, since the system didn't work, the gates stayed down, and so what they did is they just opened up all the gates and let people pass freely. And people were able to pass without paying or without any kind of toll collection. Now, the Central Nippon Expressway Company, also known as NEXCO, announced initially that by April 28th, more than 24,000 drivers had voluntarily paid the tolls that they had skipped. They went online and paid for it. And by April 18th, that number had risen to around 36,000 drivers, which sounds really impressive. 36,000 drivers just came in. Even though they passed freely, they came in and paid. And this was picked up by some press reports and by the internet in general, who started touting it as an only in Japan kind of story about how honest the Japanese people are, and how this would never happen in their own country, and only in Japan are people so honest, and that they pay as a badge of honor, even though they don't have to. But then you start thinking about this for a while, and the question becomes, okay, 36 or 37,000 vehicles paid, which sounds like a lot. But then the question becomes, how many vehicles in total passed through the gates during the outage, passed through without being charged? And the answer to that question is around 920,000. And that's a number provided by NEXCO. And if you do a little bit of math wizardry on those numbers, you find out that only 3.8% of all the vehicles that were affected, all the vehicles that passed through for free, paid. So 3.8% is not a very high percentage at all, because it means that 96% of the people who passed through freely didn't pay. And that's not very impressive at all. Now, right after this had all happened, NEXCO, the boss of NEXCO, announced that the drivers who passed through the toll booths without paying remained liable for the tolls, even though the barriers were lifted. And he said, this guy's name is Takuji Sasaki, and he's not the boss, he's the NEXCO Central Sales Director, and he said, "We will continue to call for payments, and if non-paying users can be identified, we may issue claims in the future." Now, when you hear something like that, of course, the question is, well, how would they be able to identify these people? And the fact of the matter is that every car that passes through a toll gate in Japan has its license plate recorded. And I don't know if it's a snapshot or if it's a video, but cars are recorded going through toll booths. That is a fact. And if they wanted to, I guess they could have sat someone down in front of a monitor, and they could have written down all of the license plate numbers of the people coming through, and then use this information to go after the people who did pass through. But that's an awful lot of work, because almost 1 million cars to pass through during the outage. Now, how do we know that they photograph or videotape cars going through? Well, there have been stories in the past of murders and other crimes that had been solved in Japan because they were able to track the movement of a suspect as the suspect went through different toll booths to get to a body dumping site or something like that. And so they do record every car that goes through a Japanese toll booth. I don't know if they do in other countries. I wonder if Americans would stand for that. But anyway, it ended up being a moot question because NEXCO Central announced on May 2nd, about a month after the outage, that it would waive the tolls for vehicles that pass through the affected areas, which marked an about-face from its original plan to go after as many of the drivers as possible. And they said that drivers who had already paid tolls for the outage period, the expressway operator would refund the full amount through either ETC mileage program or similar methods. That means they would credit back the miles that were used up by the miles that would have been used up by the tolls that were repaid, I guess is the better way to say this. And why did they decide to do that? Well, NEXCO decided the serious nature of the disruption and the significant inconvenience it had caused to drivers, and they used that as the reason of why it would be waiving the tolls. Now, as I said, this was reported all over the internet, and people say, only in Japan are people so honest. And I started wondering, is that true? Are Japanese people really that more honest than other people in other countries? Is there no honor among citizens of other countries? And I found a couple of really good examples to indicate maybe not. One example is the proof of payment system used for public transport in Switzerland and Germany. And according to what I was finding, now I don't live in Switzerland or Germany, so this may be bogus. And if you are from those areas and you would like to comment on that, please do. But according to the information that I was able to find, that there are no gates or turnstiles when using mass transit in Switzerland and Germany. Riders are trusted to buy a ticket and keep it on hand, and inspectors do come around sometime and do random checks. Let me see your ticket, and you have to produce it. But they say that even though the checks are rather loose, the compliance rate is quite high. And in Switzerland, fare evasion is estimated to be at only a few percent. Another example in another country is Singapore, which also experienced a failure in the system that collects Easy Link card mass transit fares. And because of that glitch, gates were opened and no fares were deducted from the cards of the commuters. But in this case also, afterwards, thousands of commuters voluntarily went in to pay their missed fares. They went in to either at the ticket counters, they paid at the ticket counters, or on online payment sites. And then the final example are roadside farm stands. And the specific example that I found was in Scandinavian countries. And they said farmers leave vegetables and fruit and flowers in unmanned stalls with a box for cash. There are no cameras and no guards and no staff there or anything like that. And that the vast majority of customers pay honestly when they pick up some fruit or vegetables. So there you have it. The bottom line is honesty is not unique to Japan. For some reason, every time something like this does happen in Japan, people say, oh, only in Japan, but not necessarily so. Honesty in Japan is very wonderful. Sometimes it's overrated. Even this thing about, if you lose your wallet in Japan, you are sure to get it back. no, it's not sure. We'll be doing a report on that in the future. But for some reason, Japan tends to be celebrated, and these stories are amplified in a way that almost turns them into cultural myths. So again, to recap, this tollway snafu that where people did come in and pay what they owed, but let's remember that only they represented, the people who paid represented only 4%, and the people who didn't pay represented 96% of the people who passed through the gates. Of course, we'll be putting a bunch of links in the show notes. You can check out our sources and find out that we are, in fact, right. And I hope that you enjoyed this story. And first, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to the wonderful people who are stopping by and watching our videos. We already have 3 or 4 subscribers. Way to go, fans. That means we only need 996 more before we can monetize, but that's up to you. I'm not going to be reminding you to subscribe every time because everybody else does, and it starts to be just noise that everybody ignores after a while. But I invite you to let us know what you think in the comments. If you have any requests for us, you want to hear about something, you want to know about something, you want to know about the way things were long, long ago in Japan, I'll let you know. And if you want to know the way things are in Japan right now, I'll let you know about that too. I promise you, I will never knowingly lie to you about Japan, either good or bad. And so if you have anything that you want to hear about, let me know. And if you hear me say something that sounds like I'm giving you bogus information, let me know about that too, because I don't want to be the purveyor of bogus information. So thanks a lot for stopping by. We've got another one coming up tomorrow that's really interesting, talking about bogus information. There are some news reports going on about Japan that are totally false, and it makes you wonder why these people are going out peddling this false information. So that's it for now. See you next time.